Hey everybody, this is Brett Hadlock, TN Artist. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this and hope that you really enjoy it as much as I enjoyed painting it. If you do, make sure to hit the like and subscribe below and hit the bell notification to get notified every time I put out some new content. I hope you enjoy this. What I'm doing here is I'm painting a Bob Ross style painting. I grew up watching Bob Ross, loved just kind of tuning in on Saturdays and watching him almost as much as I loved watching the Super Friends and cartoons and stuff. So it was a cool thing, part of my childhood, part of what made me get into art, to be perfectly honest. But between watching him and Bill Alexander and Jerry Yarnell, all those guys do their thing, it encouraged me to want to paint and to want to try and help others paint as well. So what I'm doing here is in Artrage 6, and just using the program defaults like they are. There are a few stencils that I've made and that I use throughout this later on, but right now just laying down some white paint on top of a blue canvas and then just taking the palette knife and smearing it around to start laying in the basics for some clouds and getting how those look and feel and everything else. So the painting kind of speaks for itself as I'm going through it, and hopefully if you have questions or comments, make sure to leave them below. I'm more than happy to respond. I try to respond to them as soon as I get the notification that they've been left and get back to you and answer whatever questions that I can. So make sure and leave those below. And like I said, if you get something out of this, share it out with your friends, and hit the like and subscribe button. But yeah, I could just sit here and kind of go over all the different things, but I think it's pretty straightforward. This is sped up, by the way. It's sped up to about 2 or 3 times what I was painting. This was painted on my desktop and used it to play around with everything on here. I've got an older iPad that I use and this, but this was done on my desktop. So anyway, just sit back. I've tried to pick some music that I thought was kind of nice to listen to while you're watching this. So enjoy the music, and then I can jump in here a little bit later and just kind of let you know a little bit more about it. But if you have questions, feel free to leave them here. Jump over to my Facebook group and leave them there if you want to, and join and talk. We have a fairly active group, and just ask whatever you need. So enjoy. So here you can see where I've laid in the mountain, and what I did was I took the selection tool and just drew a mountain shape, and that way I got that nice crisp edge. And then this is one of the stencils that I have, that I've created. That's actually what it is, a picture of tree bark that I then made very black and white and turned it into a stencil, and then a couple others. That one, the second one there, was actually one that I got from a class that I took, and over on Skillshare. So I'll put my link below for Skillshare. It's a great place to learn some of these things. This isn't #not sponsored, but it's a great place to learn a lot of things. So there's some good classes there that you can take and go through. But that's just moving the stencil around and playing around with the different colors, because one of the downsides, as far as I'm concerned, for any digital painting, be it Artrage or Photoshop or whatever, is the fact that you just can't get the same textures you would with a palette knife like Bob would get. So this is kind of my answer to that. So once I've got that kind of laid in like I did there, then I just start kind of for lack of a better word, tapping in some shadow and some mist areas. And that's really just kind of spreading the paint around with the palette knife. Bob would use like his 2-inch brush and kind of feather all that in there. So that's what I did with the palette knife here. So going to work on these just a little bit more, and then after I'm done with that, I'll come up with some different stencils for trees and kind of talk about that too. So here you can see what I'm using is, again, the palette knife, but I also use the sticker tool to, there's a bunch of preset brushes, if you will, that are in there in the sticker tool. And if you use them correctly, you can get some really nice looking patterns and stuff with it. So that's what I was doing here, was really trying to make sure to get kind of a cool look of the texture that you'd get with a brush. And so kind of playing around with that. Then I take the stencil tool and start reverse painting some darks in there to give more tree shapes as you're going through it. And then again, kind of misting out the bottom of it, and then going at the same stencils and different ones and laying in some of those trees and background ones, really playing around with the colors and the sizes and the shapes and adding in different textures for that. So what I did here again was threw in some paint, and then I'm taking the palette knife and smearing it down to get that reflected look, which is a little overdone at first, but then the more you keep messing around with it, the more it'll start to give you that kind of look and feel, and just keep messing around with it and get that crisp shoreline by using, again, the selection tool, and kind of add some highlights and some direct cut there with it. So, but again, throwing in some darks and stuff. By the way, up in the upper left, you can see there is a window there that is my reference panel. I actually usually keep that over to the side so I can see it in smaller, kind of same as you would if you're painting this on canvas, where you step back like 4 or 5 feet to take a look at it. That's why I keep that there. And I have a different monitor that I'll move it over to on occasion where I can look at it there as well, because that way I can kind of compare different monitor settings and get a real good idea for what it looks like printed. So again, using the same stencils that I have and going in and tweaking these out to get that painterly look, to get that same feel. These are some ones that I just created on my iPad. Actually, I just kind of played around with some ones. But again, another good thing to do in the wintertime, or if you're in an area that has a bunch of trees like these, is go out, take a picture of it, usually import it into Photoshop, desaturate it, and turn the levels up a lot so it becomes this really intense black and white, and then from that can make a stencil for it. So again, playing around with rock shapes and patterns and textures to get kind of that feel, and then smear it out and get how it looks there stuff. So you can see I use stencils a decent amount to get textures that I want, and kind of place them in certain areas and use that. It's almost like photo bashing in a way, but I think it's even more successful because you really have a lot more control over it. So here, just kind of some of the final touches of putting in the highlights on the water to give it that really reflected look and play around with it. But again, you can't just use these just the way they are. You have to really play around with how you're laying down the paint and the look and the feel of it to kind of get that real painterly look. Otherwise, so it doesn't look stamped. But so again, just kind of going back and forth, painting with tools, painting with stencils, and tweaking how it looks, trying to play around with highlights and things like that. So you can get a really nice feel for kind of a Bob Ross style painting by doing this. And it's just a matter of taking your time and playing around with it. This took me probably about 30 minutes or so to paint when I was doing it live. And like I said, I sped it up here a decent amount. So, but that's pretty much just about it. Kind of rounding out to the end here with a few extra highlights and some tweaks and bushes, and got to scratch it in so they all have some friends over there and some happy little friends. So anyway, I hope you appreciated it. I hope you liked it. Leave comments, questions below. I do my best to get back to you as fast as I can. Make sure to like and subscribe and share it with others if you enjoyed it and got something out of it. So I hope you have a great day. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate everybody swinging by and watching my videos. It means a lot to me to know that somebody's getting some stuff out of it. And jump over to our Facebook group and join there so you can really learn a lot more. So thanks again. Have just an amazing day.